Good afternoon and welcome again to Newcastle, this time on the final day of the Jameson International Open. From the 71 original entries, we are left with a pairing that is truly worthy of this prestigious tournament. We have contesting the final for this first prize of £24,000, which is exceeded only by that of the World Championship. The pair that fought out that World Final back in April in Sheffield, Steve Davis and Cliff Thorburn. Of course, Steve won that very comfortably indeed, and Cliff is well aware of what he's up against this time.
Freight train, something like that. Once he gets going, you know, he's very, very difficult to beat. And I think that my main thing is not to let him get a couple of games lead on me, you know, and start to knock in balls. Because when he starts to knock in balls, his confidence does pick up very, very quickly.
Well, not only is he a tremendous positional player and tactician, but he's also a great pressure player. And there's not many other qualities you really need. And as he proved, he's got all the fighting qualities because he came back against Terry twice, so we were 5-1 behind and 8-5 behind, I think. So he's one of those players you can never write off as being beaten, and he's proved that a lot of times.
You know, I just want to get close. I mean, obviously I want to win 9-0, but I don't really think that that's on. But I just want to get close at the end.
I haven't been stretched too much in this competition yet, and it's nice to be because it makes it a much more enthralling game if it's closer, and also you can test your own form a bit better as well.
I would say that if he was bogged down for any length of time, then you know, he suffers like the rest of us, and if somebody's knocking in balls against him, then he suffers like the rest of them. And of course, if it's a close match, which he hasn't been involved in too many, I would think that that would be a weakness as well. So, you know, it'd be more power to him if he beat me in a close match, but I'd like to beat him.
So each player with a healthy respect for the other. And of course, Steve Davis has had a much easier route to the final, beating Eugene Hughes, Mike Watterson, Silvino Francisco, and Eddie Charlton, dropping only 4 frames. Whereas Cliff Thorburn had to contend with Eddie Sinclair, Dennis Taylor, Doug Mountjoy, and in that epic semi-final which went to the last frame, Terry Griffiths. So it's over the best of 17 frames, and let us start with the first and a full house at the Eldon Square Recreation Centre relishing the prospect. Our commentators now are Mark Wildman and John Pullman.
Please, no flash cameras from now on whatsoever. Thank you.
You got me to deal with. Good game, Steve. Good game, Cliff. You're right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First frame, Cliff Thorburn to break.
Now, this is the one that we've all been waiting for the last 8 days, the final of the 1983 Jameson International. And breaking off from Canada, Cliff Thorburn. And his opponent, the present world champion, Steve Davis. And off the side cushion to trickle into the pack. Cliff having a good look here, just a possibility that there may be a red on, but now apparently not. But I'm sure Cliff will take on the long red into the baulk pocket.
Steve Davis reached the final last evening, beating Australian Eddie Charlton 9 frames to 2. And Cliff Thorburn, in an epic battle on Friday evening, hauled himself back after being 8-5 down against Terry Griffiths to win a superb contest, 9-8.
One.
Well, it was a superb red by Cliff there. And he gets the first chance.
Eight. Nine.
Well, Cliff, a bit
16.
unfortunate there. Has left the cue ball very close to the red. Got a nice red on into the corner pocket, but has to cue right over the top of that red, which makes the shot about 10 times more difficult than it might have been. When Cliff gets down, you'll see how he has to bridge right over the top of that red. Makes it a very, very difficult shot. And there you get the picture. And that's a cracking shot. Oh, coming up for the third black. What a way to start the final, to knock 147 in the first frame. And just to remind you, should that happen, or at any time during this match, just a mere
24.
£50,000 will go to the player achieving it. What a prize.
Cliff Thorburn, 24.
Just a bit disappointed at missing that red. But he goes into a 24-point lead. But what a chance now for Steve Davis to get into this frame.
One.
Well, Steve there thinking in terms of the pink instead of the easy black, purely and simply because it's easier to get onto the next red from the pink.
Well, pink not
7.
being able to be spotted on its own spot, goes in a position nearest to its own spot in direct line to the black.
8.
Well, Steve's got a good angle to pot that blue and run into the cluster of reds. And he used the brown coming off the baulk and side cushion. Here it comes. And just missed.
12. Steve Davis, 12.
And that looks to be a pretty good safety shot. Snookered behind the green. But no great problem, just a gentle little tickle off the side cushion into the reds. Well, would you believe? Managed to hit
Foul
the black.
stroke, 7. Cliff Thorburn.
And a possible red into the middle pocket here, I would think. Cliff just having a look there to see, should I miss this red, am I going to leave anything on? Doesn't look to be any great danger of that. Half chance, you could call this.
One.
Would be ideal for Cliff if the pink will go, because he could then very easily get into the reds and spread a few of those out. And it looks as if it will. Oh, good chance here for Cliff Thorburn. And that's come pretty good. Nice easy red on. Black to follow.
7.
And Cliff already 26 points in front in this frame.
8. $15. 16.
And referee Glenn Ganley being asked to clean the cue ball. Cliff obviously spotted some little foreign body there.
16.
And an excellent chance here for Cliff to compile a big enough break to win this initial frame. Oh! Well, would you believe it?
Fall stroke.
That's
16.
the last thing that
Cliff
he would have
Thorburn,
wanted.
7. Steve Davis.
Oh, Cliff Thorburn, 28 points in front. But Steve Davis in here with a chance.
1. Six. 7.
And every chance for Steve Davis here. All the reds in an open position. Steve Davis now just 14 points behind.
$15. 21. 22.
Immaculate control of the cue ball from this young man. More often than not, the cue ball travels just about 6 inches and it's nicely positioned for the next shot. Little stuns, little screws.
28.
And still only 26 years of age.
$29. 34.
'Steve now gone into a 6-point lead. And the frame absolutely wide open. Not a ball on the table that went pot.
35. 41. 42.
Steve running up for the blue. He's now 14 points in the lead. This blue will make 19. And he just needs the yellow and the green to make Cliff require snookers.
47. 49.
And as you said earlier, John, what absolute immaculate position play.
$52. 56. 61.
33 points in front now with just 13 points on the table. And the end of the first frame.
67.
And Cliff Thorburn will be regretting all day today that miscue that he had when lovely position on the black that started this break off. So Steve Davis goes in for a 1 frame to 0 lead.
So that miscue on the black allowing Steve in, and he certainly doesn't need 2 invitations, does he? Let us move on to the second frame now. Cliff Thorburn is at the table. He's on a break of 21, and the overall score is 22 points to 5.
$22.
Now that black ball hampering Cliff. Bridge hand not being quite, you see, trying to get that bridge hand safe between the white and the black. He's got to watch it, of course. He doesn't foul that black. Just makes the cueing of this that little bit more difficult.
A little shake of the
28.
head from Cliff there. He hasn't got the desired position from that shot. Looks as if he'll be forced to play a safety shot from here.
Cliff Thorburn, 28.
28 break takes Cliff into a 24-point lead. But plenty of reds left in the frame yet.
Now Cliff's got to be very careful. He had quite a nice lead in the first frame. Made just one mistake, and in stepped Steve Davis to clear the board with a 74 break. Now Steve might just be forced into a pot here. You'd like to be able to see the right-hand side of that group of 3 reds near the pink spot to enable a nice easy path back to baulk, but he can't. So may just have to commit himself. Looks as though he might be playing that red that's near the pink.
And when you see these players studying the position, and you think, well, it's quite an obvious, ordinary safety shot to bring the cue ball back into the balk, they always have to consider whether or not they're going to kiss a red over the pocket. That is the danger always. Now the red's absolutely beautifully split at the moment. One mistake could cost the frame.
Fall stroke, 7, Cliff Thorburn.
Well, I think Steve was attempting to cut that red in that was tight on the top cushion. A most ambitious stroke. In fact, missed it altogether and gave 7 points away. And there you see it, Cliff Thorburn, 31 points in front in the second frame, trailing by 1 frame to 0. And Cliff not too happy with the position, put Steve Davis in again. Can always do that after any foul stroke. If you're not happy with the position that you're left in, can always ask the opponent to play the next stroke. Should he, of course, knock a red in, that's your fault for having put him into that position.
And there's a lot of points to be scored for the first player to knock a red in and get nicely on a colour. All out in the open, pink and black free. And Cliff Thorburn sitting on a 31-point lead.
Well, there's a long red on here if he's bold enough to take it on. The red that's nearest to the pink spot will pot into the top pocket. Well, I wouldn't like to say whether or not that was intentional. If it was a tremendous shot. Tremendous dividends if he could knock the brown into the middle. The red's absolutely beautifully placed. A difficult shot, always. Well, they're now for the taking, I would think.
Six.
So Steve now 25 points behind.
Nine. Ten.
And Cliff Thorburn looking a little
16.
pensive there, wondering whether or not he's going to go 2 frames behind.
17.
And Steve Davis now just 8 points behind in this second frame.
23.
Well, that one
24.
wriggled a little bit, but decided to drop.
Thirty.
And the score's
31.
now all level at 36 points all. And a testing little shot coming up. Very easy to miss these. And if one does miss them, they always stay right over the pocket. And in it goes, as clean as a
39.
whistle. Steve Davis now 8 points in front. Colour to come, and then the last red.
44.
So all the colours now on the spots. Steve just a little bit short of pace. Slightly more difficult, this pot red, than he would have liked. But in it goes. Now 14 points in the lead.
And that was a great shot. Quite a difficult
47.
pot, but also managed to hold the cue ball in position for the yellow once again. 27 points on the table then, and all the colours on their spots, so it should be academic.
$49. $52.
And should Steve Davis knock in these last four colours, he will equal the break that he made in the first frame, 74.
$56. $61. $67.
Well, in these first two frames, Cliff Thorburn been in a winning position on both frames and made just one mistake until the table cleared. So Steve Davis wins the second frame with a 74 clearance as the first and goes into a 2-frames-to-0 lead.
So what Cliff was anxious to avoid, allowing Steve Davis to take a 2-frame lead at the very outset, has actually happened. Now he must come back quickly, and to see how effectively he can do that, John is after the break. Welcome back to the Jameson International Open final between Steve Davis, the world champion, and the man he beat for that title, Cliff Thorburn. Cliff led early in the first 2 frames, only to lose them both. He's 30 points to 5 up in the third, and Steve Davis is now at the table.
One.
I would think possibly the green into the top pocket.
Four.
Steve Davis now 21 points in arrears.
Five. Seven. Eight.
Well, Steve Davis just 10 points
15.
behind now in this frame. 5 reds left on the table.
$16. $23.
So just 2 points behind now. And in good position.
24. $31. $32.
Steve Davis now 7 points in the lead.
$39.
And this frame following the same course as the previous two.
$40. Steve Davis, 40.
So, Steve Davis 45 points, Cliff Thorburn 30.
Cliff Thorburn, 30. Steve Davis, 45.
I shouldn't think that Cliff Thorburn expected to get back to the table quite so soon.
Oh, that was a cracking pot from Cliff, a cross double. The all-important thing, can he get onto the yellow? Certainly not easy from there. Rolling too far. Very difficult to control that shot.
8.
Possible yellow into the top pocket.
Cliff Thorburn, 8.
A rueful little grin there from Cliff, because had he potted that yellow, he was snookered on the green. It's gone very safe. And when he comes to the table, he's faced with a snooker. And up goes the butt of the cue, just trying to bend the cue ball around the blue. I'll be quite happy with that. That's pretty safe.
So the white ball being cleaned once again. And a chance here for Cliff to knock this yellow in. And if he can get onto that green, he's got a great chance of taking this frame.
Two.
And that's the one place in the world that he didn't want to land, plumb behind that blue. And Cliff trailing by 5 points.
Well, a very critical shot this. Not so much whether or not he hits the green, but whether or not he gets it safe. Going very near the middle pocket.
Cliff Thorburn, 2.
Another inch or so and it would have dropped. So Steve Davis, 5 points in front, and the green right over the middle pocket.
Three.
So that puts Steve 8 points in the lead. So he will need to take brown and blue to make Cliff require snookers.
Steve Davis, 3.
Well, Cliff can hit the brown. The problem with this shot is that he's going to cut it towards the top pocket. That's the last place he wants to leave it.
False stroke, 4, Steve Davis.
Well, Cliff wanted to find contact, but not quite that fine. He was 4 points away. He's now 12 points in arrears. It's still 22 points on the table.
Cliff Thorburn, 40, Steve Davis, 52.
Well, so near, yet so far. So just brown and blue. Really to just about clinch this frame.
Four.
Now 16 points in the lead.
Nine.
"21 points in front now, with just 13 points on the table.
Steve Davis, 9.
Cliff Thorburn requiring 2 snookers and the 2 balls. And not many frames get 1 from that position.
Well, a bit of safety play there, but that blue was virtually a frame-clinching pot. Mistakes in each of the opening frames by Cliff, and he's 3-0 down. In frame 4, Steve leads by 12 points to nothing, and he's at the table.
So the break goes to 13. Steve just the wrong side of that blue. Take the white into baulk and out again.
$18.
And any time now, Steve will be attempting to bring that black into play.
Yes, just having a look there, Mark, to see that should he pot the black, would it go onto its own spot?
$19.
There's the red very close to the black spot. There is no other spot available, so the black would have to be respotted there.
$26. $27.
And once again, the wrong side of the blue.
this looks a superb shot. The red above the black and below it.
32.
Both pot into the corner pocket.
$33.
So, with the red disappearing from the side of the black, the position of the balls now less complicated.
$38. $39.
And this time I should think we'll play to get on the red that's closest to the black. No, decided on the one at the back of the pack.
44. $45. $50.
And a pensive Cliff Thorburn there, wondering if he's going to go into the interval 4 frames down.
$51.
So the break goes to 58. Steve didn't quite place that white ball in the precise position that he aimed for, so the first difficult red for Steve in this break, and as you see, that went amiss. So Cliff Thorburn comes to the table, trailing by 58 points and by 3 frames to nothing. And things beginning to go badly wrong for Cliff Thorburn.
One. 8. 9.
Cliff Thorburn now requiring snookers in this fourth frame.
$14.
And Steve Davis having a good look at the score there. It would tell him that he's home and dry in this fourth frame. 72 points in front, only 59 points on the table.
14.
Well, that was an impossible situation for Cliff Thorburn. Steve went on to win that by 125 points to nothing, and a disastrous situation for Cliff Thorburn then as the players take their mid. Good evening, and we welcome you again to Newcastle, this time for the climax of the Jameson International Open. After days of intense competition, two of the world's greatest players have emerged to contest this £36,000 final, £24,000 going to the winner and £12,000 to the runner-up. Steve Davis, the world champion, versus the man he beat for that title, Canada's Cliff Thorburn, over the best of 17 frames. Well, early mistakes by the Canadian allowed Steve to race to a 4-0 lead, but breaks of 61 and 63 by Cliff pulled one back, and then this happened in the 6th frame.
And with a bit of luck, Cliff can get nicely through to that pink. Oh, can he get good position off this? That looks inch perfect.
7. Eight.
Well, Cliff, I think, is a little bit straight on the black this time. Makes it that bit more difficult to regain position. Well, that's a pretty good positional shot.
15.
41 points to 22. $16. Well, in fact, we're seeing some excellent snooker in this final. $22.
23.
Well, I think Cliff might have to try and disturb one or two here to get position on the next red. So now 34 points in front, just 4 reds left on the table. So another couple of reds and a couple of big colours, and Cliff well on the way to winning his second frame of the match.
31. $38. $39.
Now 43 points in front. There's only a possible 43 on the table. So Cliff's got the black to come, and that will leave this frame safe for him. And I think we're in for an absolute cracker of a final.
46. 47. 54. 55.
'And I suppose, Dennis, if any man at the moment in snooker is likely to come back
60.
at Steve Davis, then nobody more likely than this fella. Did it magnificently in the semi-final against Terry Griffiths.
62.
And can he do it in the final?
$65. 69. 74.
The highest break of the match so far stands to Steve Davis, break of 74.
$80.
That beats the highest break. So, Cliff Thorburn with a break of 87, takes the 6th frame and cuts the deficit to 4 frames to 2.
So the signs of a Thorburn revival, but then Steve Davis won the 7th to lead 5-2. In the last frame of the afternoon session, the 8th, he's 51-14 in front, and he's at the table.
And it just shows you that this gentleman can suffer a little bit from the pressure as well. Normally he would get closer than that.
One. 8.
So now the difference, 29 points. So Cliff can get on any colour. Should he pot this red, he doesn't need to come down for the black. He can stay in the baulk area of the table. And what a great psychological boost for Cliff Thorburn it would be if he could just pinch this final frame of the afternoon session.
Nine.
Cliff Thorburn fully stretched there.
The
problem for Cliff here is to pot the yellow and get position on the green in such a way that he can take the cue ball up towards the brown.
$14.
And that's not really where Cliff wanted to be. It's an easy pot on the green, but he's got a lot of work to do with the cue ball. Yeah, it's a pretty tough game. Just a couple of inches can make a terrific amount of difference. Has to watch the brown ball. It's under his waistcoat there. He was overstretched there. But he's been rather fortunate. Missed the green, but has left everything fairly safe. And there's the difference, 51 plus 28. Steve Davis just requires the green. Cliff Thorburn needs all 5 colours. Now then.
Fall stroke.
That was an unusual little shot.
4.
Double kiss took
Cliff
the cue
Thorburn.
ball into the pocket.
Cliff Thorburn 32. Steve Davis 51.
No, there's no way Cliff Thorburn can pot the green from this position. Should attempt really to get the cue ball up behind the black. And just take the green back over towards the position the cue ball's in at the moment.
I do believe, Dennis, that he's having a little think about playing the double, but certainly the odds would be against him.
Well, he's certainly not taking the cue ball up towards the black. He's worked out another safety shot. I don't think he'll take the double on. No, in fact, I was right in the first place. Well, Steve had a full-blooded attempt at that difficult green. It looks as if that's an easy pot on the green, but take a tremendous shot to pot that green and get to the brown. It looks as if he's having a go.
Three.
Well, I don't think he can cut the brown in, but knowing Cliff Thorburn, he'll have a go at the double this time. If the brown doubles in, he'll win the frame. If it doesn't, he could lose it. Just 7 points behind now, so Cliff requiring pink and black. And what a tough shot he's got here. It's an easy pot on the pink, but how to get on the black. All around the houses again, I think. And the packed audience at Eldon Square certainly appreciating that positional shot. But this is a toughie. Well, Cliff Thorburn, disgusted with a miss, shakes hands with Steve Davis. Steve Davis takes the 8th frame and goes into a 6-frames-to-2 lead.
So a really comfortable situation for Steve Davis, but for Cliff, a real uphill struggle lies ahead. To find out what happens at the evening session, join us right after the break. Welcome back to the final of the Jameson International Open. Steve Davis, who won the title in 1981, trying to regain it at the expense of Canada's Cliff Thorburn. With the evening session ahead, Cliff was 6-frames-to-2 down, and that meant he had to win 7 of the 9 frames that could be played for victory, and that is a tall order. In the first of them, Steve Davis went out to a 49-points-to-1 lead, and as we join it, it's Cliff Thorburn at the table. Dennis Taylor and John Pullman are in the commentary box.
One.
So let's see if Cliff Thorburn can get back in this frame.
Eight. 9. $16. 17. 18. 24.
Cliff Thorburn now just 24 points behind, still 3 reds on the table.
25.
And in absolutely prime position. Perhaps a little straighter on the black than he would have liked, but still within his capacity to get on a red.
Well, Cliff completely mishit that one. Wanted to be out for the red that's closest to the pink. Scratches his head, and all he can do now is play a safety shot.
Cliff Thorburn, 32. Steve Davis, 49. Cliff Thorburn, 33.
So just 16 points in the frame. 2 reds left on the table.
And you can hear what the audience think of that shot. Absolutely packed house here at Eldon Square. And certainly enjoying this final.
Well, possibility of sticking this one into the middle pocket. Onto the blue, I would think, just a little trickler. Or may possibly go down for the green. And it goes,
5.
that's good, on the green. Now the only problem ball, well, 2 actually, the brown and pink. A little bit difficult. Cliff Thorburn just 8 points behind, 27 points left on the table.
Ten.
And this is a very difficult putt. He attempts to put that brown along the vault cushion into the corner pocket. He's got a good angle to get onto the blue, but a very, very difficult putt.
Cliff Thorburn.
So just 3 points the difference. Steve Davis 3 points in front. The last 4 colours on the table, 22 points there to be collected.
Well, Cliff hoping to get a snooker. And Steve Davis, be very surprised if he has a go at potting this very difficult shot. He's just studying what to do. It's one of those shots, you know, if you go for it and miss it, the odds are that you're going to leave it. And it's not that easy to play a safety shot. In fact, he's done neither. Probably thinking to himself, I wished I had a go at the pot now.
On the blue, but is he on the blue at the angle that he can get onto the pink? Would love just the angle to be able to run into the pink and knock it towards the vault cushion. Looks as if the blue is a little too straight for that.
Nine.
Well, Cliff attempted to do just that, but unfortunately for him, it didn't work out. Can only play a safety shot, I would think. And Cliff Thorburn's gone into a 6-point lead now. Needs just one of these 2 remaining colours. Steve Davis needs them both.
Cliff Thorburn, 9.
Well, Cliff there played a clever little shot. He attempted to knock the black onto the cushion, didn't quite make it. Where's that pink going? When things go right for you, they certainly go right. All on the black. And what a crucial frame this is for Cliff Thorburn. 55 points each.
Steve Davis, 6.
Well, tremendous
Players are
o's from the
level,
crowd there.
55.
That was, in fact, a very difficult pot. The saving grace for Steve Davis is that the black has gone completely safe. Well, Cliff studying there, I would suggest that push the black onto the side cushion and down to the middle of the baulk cushion. That's about the only shot that he could play with absolute safety. Well, he had to go at the double, would you believe? Well, it worked out very well indeed. Couldn't have played a better safety shot as he tried. What a funny game this snooker is. And this capacity crowd at the Eldon Square Recreation Centre sitting on the edge of their seats at the moment. What an important ball this is. Cliff Thorburn wins a very necessary frame. And the scores are now 6 frames to Steve Davis, 3 frames to Cliff Thorburn.
So that's one pull back by Cliff, but then Steve applied the pressure again to take the 10th, 7-3. In the 11th frame, Steve is again in front, 24 points to 7, but this time it's Cliff to play.